Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And we all know what they say, Saturday night is alright for fighting, and last night certainly was no different, as AEW Collision was a stacked show with a championship, an AEW Championship main event between MJF and Kenny Omega, which means we have a lot to talk about here on this show today. It's going to be an interesting one, that is for sure. Firstly, let me introduce the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are things today?
I'm so fired up. It's an NFL Sunday, which is nothing short of delightful. We've got an F1 race on tap. We had F1 qualifying yesterday. Also delightful. On top of that, we've got Collision last night. We had Fury and Ngannou yesterday. We had the World Series. Great weekend to be a sports fan. Great weekend to be a combat sports fan. And an even better weekend to be a pro wrestling fan, because we're right on the heels of course, Crown Jewel, as well as this AEW storyline with Maxwell Jacob Friedman. TikTok, baby. We're heading close to January 1st, and I may not believe that there is a true bidding war, but I know that we're all curious.
Absolutely. No, that is true. Was it, is it just a work? Has MJF really signed a new deal with AEW? Or is it true and MJF's contract is up January 1st? I mean, my big question about that is, originally he said it wasn't January 1st, and now he's saying it is, which does make me think, hang on a second, this might be a work. That's just a little interesting note. Very quickly, though, I just want to touch on this one thing. Clark, Fury and Ngannou, was Ngannou robbed?
He was not. Tyson Fury won the boxing match. I enjoyed it. Did Ngannou do more than I believed he could? Absolutely. I mean, that knockdown was a knockdown. He clipped him. He really got him with the left hook, the lead left, over the top. Interesting. He got past the defense there and hit him. It was side of the head, but it wasn't back of the head. It was a legitimate knockdown. The rest of it was a pretty clean, clear, sublime boxing show from Tyson Fury. And in my eyes, it was an obvious win for Fury, but the MMA boxing debate, we got to knock it off. This was just fun. Combat sports is fun, and it was fun. And if we're going to run it back, 12 rounds would be the way I'd go about it, at least if you're asking me.
Well, it certainly was fun, and somebody else who had fun was Vince McMahon, who was front row for that fight, which is crazy. There's a photo of him, we posted it on the Wrestling Republic Instagram, of him next to Mike Tyson and Eminem, the front row of the fight. I might have to get that picture just printed out and put it on my wall. Eminem and Vince McMahon and Mike Tyson in the same photo. What is that? Is just crazy.
What's going on?
Also joining us on this show today, we have Bret Sternberg. Bret, how are you on this fine Sunday?
Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. Hope everyone had a great week. It's been a few weeks since I've seen everyone, and I am excited to distract myself with some fun, exciting wrestling news. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. And let's get into, wrestler who I always think is a lot of fun, and that is AR Fox. Of course, he had this storyline heading into All in Wembley, where he was part of Swerve's faction. AR Fox, there were some travel issues with him and all that, and that story kind of got pushed to one side, and AR Fox pretty much got taken off TV, especially in a big way. But last night on Collision, AR Fox opened the show with a match against Jay White, and these two together, it was brilliant. Jay White in the ring, I've said it before, I'll say it again, he's so underrated, he's so technical, and I think that type of style is something which he's going to be kind of overlooked for in AEW, because a lot of that's, a lot more fast-paced. I said it when he signed with the company that I thought he'd kind of be better suited to WWE's in-ring style, and that's not an insult or praise. That is just very simply, he kind of is more WWE style of wrestler over, AEW's. But this match was really, really good. Jay White, of course, got the victory in the end. He, of course, right now possesses the stolen AEW Championship, and MJF came out during this match. He had a mask on and was hooded, and he came to, try and steal back the title, but it didn't work. Bullet Club Gold defended it, and Jay White ran off with the championship before then the Guns defeated Dalton Castle's boys in a squash match after the match. But, I mean, Clark, what did you think about this opener on AEW Collision? Jay White getting this win in what was quite an enjoyable bout, in my opinion.
And not to use an old cliche trope of, man, do styles make fights, and AR Fox looked as good as he should and could in this spot, for lack of a better way to put it. AR Fox, I've always believed in his talent. I think bell to bell, he's excellent. Showed some charisma in the Nick Wayne storyline with Darby and everybody involved. We had him against Jay White last night on Collision, and it was awesome. Jay White, pacing-wise, knows how to lay out a match. And so does AR Fox, it appears, because this was outstanding. I really liked a lot about it, and I really like MJF inserting himself in this match, but not taking enough away from it that I didn't recognize that AR Fox showed us what he can truly do in the ring against Jay White, which is what we got to see, and I loved that. Now, at the end of the day, this is about Jay White and Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and that I am so stoked for, and we're going to get into Kenny and Max later. We're going to talk about it. Max is starting to feel to me like 80s Ric Flair. This is everybody and their mother is trying to take shots at the kid, and everybody wants a shot at that title, but only one guy holds it, and it's Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and he's the most over and most popular character in the industry, including the tribal chief Roman Reigns right this second.
Yep.
And that's no knock on the tribal chief, because he's a generational talent as well. But Maxwell Jacob Friedman is the most over character, person, performer in all of wrestling right now, and continues to be so.
Yeah. I've got to completely disagree with you there. I think he's probably the most, over in the company, but I've been in arenas, right, where both MJF and Roman Reigns have entered. When Roman Reigns enters an arena, everybody wants to be there. It's not the same atmosphere when MJF comes out, right? And MJF, that sounds like I'm hating on MJF. I'm not. He is undoubtedly up there with the best in the industry. But Roman Reigns right now, he's undefeated in 1,000+ days. Nobody in decades has had a reign like he's had. I don't for a second. I can't see how MJF's currently more over than Roman Reigns.
Anybody can pop 100,000. Max
not on Raw business.
Max shows up when it's 11,000, when it's 10,000. And that crowd goes ballistic. And you may come back with casual fans or whatever you want to say. The difference is Roman Reigns may be more recognizable. But as far as connection to true fans who show up in that arena and deliver passion as far as cheering, it's Max. And it's Max by a lot.
Let me explain why that's just very simply not the case, right? No. Look, pre-pandemic, look at WWE's ticket sales before Roman Reigns was champion. Since Roman Reigns has been champion, well, you brought up ticket sales. Since Roman Reigns has been champion, WWE's ticket sales have increased. Since MJF has been champion, AEW's have decreased. That is a fact. That's not that you can't debate that. That is a fact. If you want to talk tickets...
I love you, Ben. I didn't bring up ticket sales. I brought up arena size.
You said fans who will come to the arena.
I brought up arena size, and the fans that come to the arena that are hardcore fans. So that's outside of ticket sales, right? Ticket sales are ticket sales are ticket sales. And you got sponsors, you have all of that. right? But the hardcore fan that watches both products, I'm telling you right now, stands up a lot quicker for Max than they do Roman.
No way.
I
No
think
way.
I think Max is way more relatable as a
Yes.
character than Roman, and I think people relate to him much more. Besides the point, Roman gets way more viewers. He has a bigger platform. Of course, he's like the Superman of wrestling right now. That's what they're trying to put him out as. But Max has both also the heel and the face side cheering for him. Like he is embodying both, and he's being his true self, and that's getting across with the fans pretty well right now, in my opinion. So I agree with Clark.
I mean, I can agree with what you're saying there, where MJF, he is obviously, at heart he's a heel, but then he managed to, turn that around, become a babyface, and he's done that amazingly too. And there's where you can argue, hang on a second, Roman Reigns couldn't get super over, especially with a hardcore audience, as a babyface, whereas MJF's done both in a very quick time. But I don't think that makes him a bigger star. I don't
No,
think
I
they go
don't
hand
think
in hand.
that's. I don't think that's. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ben. I don't think that's
Yeah.
what Clark is saying. I think when it comes to like everyone in the room cheering for the same person, rather than everyone, like, yes, people want to be there for Roman, but not necessarily everyone in the room is cheering for Roman. When Max comes out, everyone's cheering for Max.
Exact. I don't necessarily believe that's a great point, Brett. I don't necessarily believe that he's the bigger star, but I do believe he's more over. He's the more important of the two to his own company in that sense, because you look at the way the fan base treats both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Roman, it ebbs and flows. And if we really want to go digging deep, right? Like Max has never missed like Roman's missed. But the loyalty to Max over these last 2 years, the pure, I know he's good, even when he was at the peak of his heel run, right? You had a hard time denying his popularity because of the brilliance of his work. And I'm not saying that he's more talented than Roman Reigns. I just believe he's more over and more important to his specific company as the champion than even Roman Reigns is.
Wow. No, I mean, I disagree with that again, because if you go to ratings, on weeks when Roman Reigns isn't there, to
It's
weeks
not
when
about
Roman
ratings.
Reigns is there. But
It's about
that's the
importance
only
to their
thing.
company. This isn't about ratings. Take ratings off the table.
Okay. I think that is always going to be an element there. But Brett, what did you think about Jay White versus AR Fox? Great debate. We've gone off topic. Jay White, AR Fox. What are your thoughts, Brett?
I was wondering when we were going to get to that. But now that we're here, I've known about AR Fox for some years now. I've done some work with him on the independent scene myself. I've met him. He's a great guy. But at the same time, his work in the ring is set apart from anyone else. I think he's one of the hardest working individuals on the independent scene, or he was as he was on the independent scene. Now that he's with AEW, I think they really need to hone in on his gimmick in a sense, because he has a specific look. And it reminds me, no wrestling qualities related, but it reminds me a lot of how Sergeant Slaughter used to come out in those cargos. You got AR Fox in those cargos every week. Like, we could do something, like something could be done with this. We just need to think it through. And he's an amazing wrestler. Like I said, I just think the gimmick and story need to line up at this point for him. The match was amazing. I think what they're doing with Bullet Club right now, involving them with all of this heat, is amazing too. But like I said, AR Fox came out looking better and came out on top in that match, in my opinion.
Sorry, I didn't miss you on my mic there. No, Brett, I do agree with you. AR Fox, he is such a star, and then there's he's got a lot of potential there as well. Obviously, it sucked what happened within that Swerve storyline, because it finally felt like that was the opportunity for him to reach that next level in the company, and for it to be pulled from him. That really did suck. But now let's move on to talk about the AEW women's division. Let's talk about this I guess, what they'd call in WWE a trick or street fight, because Hikaru Shida took on Abaddon last night. Of course, Abaddon, David Sheldon on the show often talks about how much of a fan of Abaddon that he is. And I'm going to be completely honest here, I've not always been on the Abaddon train, but in this match, she looked good against Shida. At the times, the match was slightly sloppy, but it was, it was solid for what it was. I had 2 points from this, right? One, Shida was wearing a dress. So shout out to Shida, actually, because wearing a dress in wrestling, that's hard to pull off.
Was that part of her costume, I think?
I think it was, yeah, but it was her movement was restricted because of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was like, I mean, respect to her because she pulled it off, but I'm like, I think she's maybe putting unnecessary stress on it. But no, it was part of her Halloween costume that she was wearing, but she didn't let it affect the match. But the other spot that I had an issue with, right, and this is going to sound like the most stupidest thing ever, and I never thought I'd be uttering these words.
I think I might agree.
It made no sense that they used just soft sweets.
Thank you.
Put sweets down.
Thank you. I completely agree with you there.
It made no sense. It was this isn't gonna hurt. At least use I don't know, some gobstoppers or something where it'd be uncomfortable in the back.
Or
these were just soft jelly sweets.
Fake vampire teeth. Something.
Yes. Just something better than just jelly sweets. It might actually stop the pain a bit. Just landing on it. It made no sense.
I'm sorry. The backdrop. The idea of a backdrop on a bed of gobstoppers is so funny.
No, it really got to me as well, because it's what are you hiding in that? Oh, then we see soft candy come out. It's what is going on right now? Honestly, the match, I know, this match was okay, in my opinion. The technical skills were much better than what was going on around it. It did not make any sense to me.
No, I mean, I do.
And that's so funny, but I just do. Jaw
Bobby
breakers.
Bobby Petito, shout out to Bobby, saying that Abaddon should be on TV more. I mean, Clark, what did you think about this match other than the lack of gobstoppers?
I mentioned earlier in the week on the Tuesday night show that I'm totally afraid of scary movies. Totally am. I'll be the first to admit it. They're scary, and I've never liked it. So I'm not totally the biggest Halloween guy, and I don't want to be the Ebenezer Scrooge or the Grinch of Halloween right now. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun as could be. I thought the candy spot was funny. The gobstoppers was the call. That got me too good. But gobstoppers would have made it better for sure. And my one other complaint is, and Ben mentioned earlier, Shida had the issues with the dress and the gear. The katana was gorgeous as always, but it would have been sweet to see the pumpkin break. I hate to admit that, but it would have been nice if the pumpkin didn't just get knocked off Abaddon's head. Abaddon still freaks me out. She's still immensely talented. She's still awesome bell to bell. And this match was fun for what it was. It was very Halloween. It was very Saturday night Halloween season. I dig everything about that. Felt like a throwback. And I loved that it felt like there was a little bit more time for this match than I expected out of the gates. And that was something that I think is deserved. Shida's facial expressions on Abaddon and how scary Abaddon is, and when Abaddon had the dripping, whatever the black substance was out of her mouth, and that kind of stuff, the facials out of Shida, it just reminds you how absolutely excellent she is in the ring, week in and week out. Deserved multi-time AEW World Champion. Awesome to see her holding the belt. But then there's Toni Storm. And to me, nobody but Toni Storm is that good. Going and laying on the table post-match. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And just chatting it up with the announcers. She is operating on a level that I haven't seen in a long time, character-wise. She's that good. Toni Storm not only needs to be the next AEW World Champ, but strap the rocket ship, because she found not just it, but every single thing she does is must watch on AEW television. It just is. It's sublime. It's sublime work from Tony Storm.
I couldn't agree more with you, and I'm sure in the coming weeks we're going to be
Nice
talking more
dictionary
about
work, Clark.
that. Heading into AEW Full Gear.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess Hikaru Shida isn't just Pat starting for you, is it? Clark, back to yesterday.
No, I changed my mind. I am a huge Sheeta fan. I mean, she signed my action figure.
I just
I'm
don't
winding
think,
you up about the Pat starting yesterday.
No,
Like, what
I
was-
said it. I know.
yeah,
I
Pat starting.
I said it.
I don't think I got a chance to say this because I've been
Pat
off for
said
a
it.
few weeks now, but I don't think Sheeta should be champ right now.
Oh wow,
I
I agree.
Exactly.
I like it, but I agree.
While I also agree, I think, and I love Sheeta, I think at the same time, yeah, it's time. Tony, I mean, what Tony Storm is just
I've been
done.
calling that. I've been calling Tony for
Yeah.
a few weeks now. I said this storyline was going to make her bring it to the next level, and it's doing just that. It's giving her that
The character
next
is
level.
scary, brilliant.
There's
The
people
thought for me,
copying her character in WWE
Yes.
venues. Like they're going to
Mm.
WWE events as Tony Storm. It's like she did something.
what she found with this character, like I'm starting to think like what was capable like of before, if given the creative process. If you know what I mean, it's one of those. It's hard to quantify what she really accomplished unless it's been like what 2 months.
Yeah,
Right?
Not
We're
even
talking
that. Not
8
even that. I
weeks.
don't think. I
8
think it's been like
weeks?
4 weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, 4 weeks, you would say. I mean,
So of the timeless, I think she like announced the timeless character about 4 weeks ago.
It started.
It started.
It's just
Yeah.
It
it's
started,
hard to-
longer. Yeah.
It's hard to quantify what she's accomplished with that character so quickly, because the brilliance is I mean, we've never seen her sell the way she does within that character. She
Oh, it's
wrestles bell
amazing.
to bell, and she's always been great bell to bell.
Yeah.
To make that adjustment in that short of a period of time it just shows you the level of creativity. It shows you the level of understanding of what you're trying to accomplish as an entertainer. I can't compliment enough. Tony Storm has blown me away with this timeless character.
The blinders are also off too.
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's making it way more like better, because it's coming off completely natural.
Yep.
I could not agree more. It feels like something which is her own, and that's when, wrestlers shine. But now let's move on and let's talk about Dax Harwood versus Ricky Starks. Of course, FTR lost the tag team championships to Big Bill and Ricky Starks a few weeks ago now, and Dax Harwood, well, he wanted, this one to really kick. Dax Harwood basically wants another shot at the title. He wants FTR to get their rematch, and he wanted this match against Ricky Starks to be the start of that opportunity. But unfortunately, it all went wrong, and Ricky Starks got the win over Dax Harwood. Very fun match. I enjoyed this one too. It's another just great in-ring contest on AEW Collision. It's pretty much what you can just bet on every week on Collision, that you'll see a couple of bangers, and this was one of them. After the match, and this was where the real, headline started, House of Black came down, Julia Hart returned, and there was a bit of a stare-off in the ring. It was like, well, what's going to happen here? Everybody's facing off against FTR. Ricky Starks and Big Bill are weirdly on the same page as House of Black. It was like, what is going to happen? And then out came La Faction Ignables. I still can't say it, guys. I can't say it when I talk about New Japan. But
LFI.
LFI came down.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I'm really happy we see them back. I think Roosh is just excellent. I think their faction has a lot of potential, a lot of untapped potential in All Elite Wrestling, and they got in the faces of House of Black. It looks like we're going to see a 5-on-5 House of Black, Ricky Starks and Big Bill against LFI and, of course, FTR in the very near future. And just take my money, Tony, because that I do want to see. But Brett, what did you think about this one?
I thought it was great. I just thought about LFTR. That just came into mind. But that would be a great T-shirt, Tony Khan. If you make that, I get 10%, please. I think it was great. I do think some parts of the match were stale, to be completely honest with you. I'm gonna say this. I do think, like you guys touched on this last week, this is part of Stark's give back kind of season in a sense because of what they were supposed to do with Punk. So I think we're nearing the end of that, which is why I think that we're seeing this different storyline come into play, which is House of Black and LFI. I think it was cool. I think it was great. I think the match itself was a little stale in some parts, but it was a good technical wrestling match. I just think that I just don't think that Stark should have won that easily, in my opinion. I don't know. Yes, there was some outside interference, but I think FTR is being a little taken advantage of now, but that might be because of what's happening in the storyline and of how they're giving back to certain wrestlers because of certain things that have transpired with a certain individual who is no longer with the company anymore. So I don't know if that's the case, but I don't like this whole FTR being like dumbed down a little bit and like being taken off the top step. In my eyes, like FTR is still one of the best tag teams in the world, and they should be held as one of the best tag teams in the world. Unless they're going to climb that ladder again, I don't think they should be taken down as we're seeing right now. In a sense, I think they should not be wasted on stupid storylines. I think they should actually be I don't know, more utilized.
I'm surprised you think this storyline's stupid, to be honest with you. I mean, what do you mean? Do you mean Ricky Starks and Big Bill?
I think that this is part of Stark's giving back tour. Like they're giving, like, because Punk, he was supposed to have a whole thing with Punk, and now they're just nearing the end of that. So they're trying to reel back on the end of that and create new storylines. So they're just bringing in I think it was either TV time or the storyline, because they just brought in LFI and House of Black, and it was kind of just like, okay, why are these four different groups conjoining to just attack each other? And it was a little confusing.
It's getting them all on TV though, in fairness.
I am with though Brett on one thing. I think there is something to be said about Ricky Starks is so huge, and we know about what happened with Enzo, whatever you'd like to call him, Real One, and Big Cass, right?
Yeah.
We know about how over that was. And it does seem odd that they just stuck Cass with Ricky.
That's true.
In a tag team division that was supposed to be one of the best in the world, right? And we watched on Rampage, and we're not going to talk about that today, but Santana and Ortiz, right? And things like that, even Proud and Powerful, teams that we built up in this division early, right? We've already split up the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy deal, right? SCU is gone. But you think back to the original iteration of AEW, and you have not only the Young Bucks, but all these teams. This is pre-FTR. You know what I mean? And the division was so huge. And to just throw a guy that was very over with another, I don't want to say similar, because they're not similar in any way, but right, you put the big guy with the little guy together, all of a sudden the little guy that talks, right? There's not very many similarities outside of that one between Enzo and Starks, but it does feel a bit like I mean, to me, those tag team titles, as great as they are and as great as the rivalries have been, were best held when they broke the rules with Hangman and Kenny.
Yep.
It's true. I will agree with it. It did seem like they didn't really give much of a story. Like we talked about Damage Control, where Ricky Starks and Big Bill, like, why are they together? Like, you've not told us this. Right. One thing I will say is, I very, very, very strongly feel like they deserve it. Big Bill is somebody who's like, he's overcome so much and he's like improved so much too. Ricky Starks obviously deserved a title.
The man had a seizure. Had a seizure in the ECW arena, essentially. And you had, Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray have spoken upon it immensely. Like, it's one of those the comeback story is amazing. And
Yeah.
to your point, he's immensely talented, immensely charismatic, and deserves television time for sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, we had Ricky and Hobbs. We had,
It's true.
we now got right.
Yeah.
Like it still is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's no knock on Big Bill W. Morrissey, monster shout out, like stud for coming back and is awesome every single time he performs. It's not a knock on him.
Yeah,
it has
him as a singles wrestler.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his, but I do feel like we're at a point where this was supposed to be the tag team division.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it anymore.
And another thing people keep forgetting is the Young Bucks are like the number one contenders, and they've like not touched on that. They've completely forgotten the Young Bucks are number one contenders.
Well, and not only
because
that,
they won a match to face FTR.
On top of that,
and they haven't delivered on it.
On top of that, you have the former champs in the Acclaimed carrying the trios belts, so they're out of the equation.
Which I don't think that's bad. I think they're doing their own thing with Billy Gunn.
That's fine, but you've taken the division and you've splayed it.
But in this one, they just brought in they brought in three new tag teams.
Think about the best friends could have been the biggest gatekeeper tag team of all time.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen them wrestle as it. I mean, they can tag with anyone, right? I mean, they can go bell to bell with anyone. And what are we doing? We have this many tag teams in the tag team division. Let's not devalue that division.
No, I agree. I'll agree with that. The AEW tag team division does not feel as important as it once was.
And should have.
Yes, undoubtedly. And they got the talent for it too. So they absolutely can fix that issue. But now let's move on and let's talk about Claudio Castagnoli versus Tracy Williams. Tracy Williams, a few years ago, everybody was saying it's going to be the next big thing. He was a top guy in Ring of Honor. And he was treated like an absolute jobber in this match, but I did not have an issue with it because it suited the purpose of it. Claudio Castagnoli did a promo pre-match and said, hang on a second, Orange Cassidy, you injured Bryan Danielson on his farewell tour. You injured him. He's out for the rest of this year, and it's your fault. My friend, you've done this, so now I'm coming for you, and I'm coming to take your championship. I am coming for the International Championship. And boy, oh boy, was Claudio in a mood. He came out and he just destroyed Tracy Williams. He didn't even give Tracy Williams a chance to just, register. The match had started. It was brutal. And now, next Wednesday, Orange Cassidy versus Claudio Castagnoli, the AEW International Championship. And that I do not like. And the reason for it is that you have got a brilliant story here. You delivered this story perfectly throughout this match with Claudio and the pre-match promo. The pay-per-view's in 2 weeks. Why don't you, over the next 2 weeks, build that storyline more and have that huge pay-per-view match with a great foundation of a story of Claudio Castagnoli versus Orange Cassidy, the AEW International Championship, with Claudio just being built as a monster in the lead up for that. I think it's a missed opportunity. Brett, give me your thoughts.
I'll tell you right now, in that promo, he mentioned not just Orange Cassidy's name, he mentioned someone else's name as well. He mentions Kazuchika Okada. And he said he was coming not only after Orange Cassidy, but he was coming after Kazuchika Okada. So, in my opinion, this is a lead up to what's going to happen at that pay-per-view, which is going to be Claudio versus Okada now, which unfortunately, that was going to be probably Danielson or Mox. They're both injured right now. I think the thing that's firing up Claudio the most right now is the fact that this is his opportunity. It's his time. Unfortunately, injuries have made this his time. But it's his time to shine, and that is why he is just going full speed ahead and full force with everything. He's just going straight forward as fast as he can, and that's why he came out and squashed whatever his name was. I literally don't remember.
Wow. Tracy Williams.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mention it because it doesn't matter. That's how fast the match was. But he got squashed, and I think that Claudio is absolutely – this is his time right now. I don't think that it's going to – this is his time.
No, I do agree with you on that, and something which is actually quite important, not important to know, but interesting to note, is that David Sheldon, and we all love David, he wrote in his review for this one, he said, I don't know who the guy's name is because they didn't properly introduce him, they didn't give him a nameplate, and in fairness, they did give him a nameplate, but it just shocked me that, like, Tracy Williams has just had such a fall. Like, and I feel so bad for him. I know injuries have, like, halted him a bit, but this guy was, like, one of the top, the next top guys. And everybody was talking about him, like, pre-pandemic, going into the pandemic. And now it's like, I mean, this squash match I had no issue with. I thought the story was perfect. But it's like, damn. Like, everybody can't remember you following this. Everybody just remembers Claudio. It's like, what?
Good.
I gotta say, for a long time, I've been saying that Claudio Castagnoli can do anything. He showed me the last one thing that I hadn't seen him do, which is just squash somebody.
It was fun.
And he did it. And he did it on the money. Like, what can't he do? Cut a promo? Yes. Bell to bell? Yes. Develop a rivalry? Yes. Wrestle any style? Yes. Deep move set? Yes. Like, it's hard to quantify how great Claudio Castagnoli is and how overlooked he's been for such a long time. Think about his last Mania appearance was going over against Seth Rollins. Going over against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's Cesaro, right? But at the end of the day, the guy has the it factor that you just can't quantify. He can do all of them.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I've been a Cesaro fan for years, and Claudio Castagnoli, well, he's come into his own with this new character. Well, this returning character, of course, he was first known as Claudio back in the day, but now let's talk about the one we all want to talk about, the AEW Championship. MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, we spoke about him earlier in the show. Clark, you said that right now he's at the top of the industry. He's the most over guy in the professional wrestling industry. And he took on one of the other, somebody who a couple of years ago was, and I think you very much had the argument then, was the most important person in the industry in Kenny Omega. Throughout that pandemic, those feuds he was having aligned with Don Callis, and even before that, I mean, it was that, that 6-star classic on some people's scales against Kazuchika Okada in the Tokyo Dome. That was one of, the starting points where, they lit a fire, which brought a lot of eyes to the Bullet Club, which ended up leading to a lot of eyes to being the Elite, which led to All Elite Wrestling. Kenny Omega undoubtedly has led to a lot in this industry. This match, I said it before and I'll say it again, it should have been a pay-per-view match, or at the very least, if you wanted to do it on this Collision before, MJF surpasses Omega's reign, then it should have had a bigger build, because this match deserved that. But these guys delivered in the ring. They were shockingly slightly sloppy at times. MJF did that moonsault, and a lot of people are criticizing Kenny Omega for running into it. If Omega didn't run into it, MJF might not be alive today. So it's undoubtedly God Omega did that because MJF was going right on his neck. But doesn't change the fact that MJF missed by about 6-7 feet with that moonsault. Not a great botch with that. Maybe MJF, maybe just lay off the high-flying stuff, because you do the technical stuff so great. You don't need to be risking it with that other stuff. But this match was still absolutely amazing. The finish, of course, Don Callis' involvement. For a second, I thought, he was going to screw Omega. He didn't. Well, he tried to, but it didn't work. And yeah, that finishing sequence, that was just absolutely amazing. Maybe a controversial count from the referee. In some people's eyes, Omega should be the champion right now. But those are probably also the people who think Ngannou should have beaten Fury, because MJF is still the AEW champion. Clark, give me your thoughts on this one.
Oh, I loved it. And we've talked a lot about Max. I've talked a lot about Max recently. And every single time you kind of talk about him now that he's the champion, right, heading into this bidding war of 2024, and not to bring that up, but heading into it, it's always like can he do this, right? Can he wrestle for 60 minutes against Bryan Danielson? Yep. Can he wrestle against Yep. Every single time the dude delivers. The moonsault spot was what it was. I mean, we've seen Undertaker botch a suicide dive against Shawn Michaels, and arguably one of my 5 favorite matches of all time at WrestleMania. It doesn't bug me that much. That's part of the game. It happens. It's hard. Everybody's in the ring, and timing wise, I enjoyed this. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, in my eyes, is still the most important person in the wrestling industry. He retained the title, and going over against Kenny Omega is that much more important. And everybody is gunning for this kid. It's Kenny, it's Jay White, it's everyone wants that title. And I love that feeling of it's not just one challenger is something that I've missed in wrestling. And that is no knock on Roman Reigns, because I am a fan of the Bloodline storyline. And I know that very much sounds like I'm criticizing it. But this one in particular, I enjoyed, on top of quantifying the entire thing, where I'm sitting here and looking and going, Max just gets it. Max carrying the belt just gets it. And he doesn't miss, and he doesn't miss often. And even if he does, it's close.
Absolutely.
And having a guy like Kenny Omega in the ring, like you said, to chase that moonsault, it's important to note. But to me, that's a blip on the radar at the very least.
Yeah, no, I mean, one thing which you brought up as well is the multiple challengers, and this is something that I am liking. Of course, this Wednesday on Dynamite, it will be MJF and 3 partners of his choosing against Bullet Club Gold. We know at the pay-per-view, MJF has to choose a partner to defend the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships against, as of course, the Guns will be contending for those championships. But what I loved was backstage, Samoa Joe was watching this match. He wants to be that guy. He's already given MJF the offer saying, I will team with you, but if we win those tag team titles, if we retain those tag team titles, I'm next at that championship. We also saw Wardlow backstage. We saw him, of course, for weeks wearing that tape around his wrist with MJF on. He's making his intentions clear. And then, of course, Powerhouse Hobbs as well. Are those the 3 guys MJF is choosing? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Brett...
Hello, Riley's my call.
Oh, that's a wild call. But Brett, what about you? MJF Omega, give me your thoughts.
First of all, this is a banger of a match. I loved it. I had to actually rewatch it. That's how good it was. In my personal opinion, it was one of the better matches of this half of the year, the first half of the year. And I think that it lived up to all the hype, to be completely honest with you. Yes, there were some things like the moonsault that he was doing off of the springboard off of the top ropes, or not top ropes, the ring and onto the floor, that was a little botched. Yeah, but he's also never done that in his professional career, I don't believe. So he's done things in this match to show like, okay, I'm on the same level as you as well. So it was almost like a tit for tat type of thing. And I think it was really cool for them to allow him to and do that, but not only for allow him to do that, for him to have the balls to do that, because that takes a lot. So I think it was an amazing match, like we were talking about. I think that Flair being there on Wednesday also is a little coincidental to me, what's going on with the storyline. I think that they've been definitely sharing words, probably getting a little mentorship from Flair, but this definitely feels like a Flair storyline from the 90s, where everyone is trying to get the title literally at the same time. We had 3 or 4 different people trying to get it in this one shot, and there's more coming. We still have Jay White. We have a few others. So I think that what they're doing right now is amazing. I think that Flair has some influence, and I hope that they're talking to each other about this. But I think that what they're doing with Max and what Clark alluded to it before, I think he's going to end up being I'm going to call it right now, actually. I think he's going to be the wrestler of the year.
Wow. I mean, that is a big call to make, and actually, I think there could well be an argument for it. There absolutely. But we've got some breaking news I want to quickly cover before we go off the air. Alex Hammerstone has just revealed that he has requested his release from Major League Wrestling. And this is interesting too, because of course, Richard Holiday, currently a free agent, Could Richard Holiday and Alex Hammerstone be going to AEW to be the partners of MJF and to reunite the dynasty? Are those who are under the devil mask? Who knows? But thank you guys so much for watching this show today. It has been a banger. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Brett. If you guys are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, at Shiggy 5 stars always helps us out. We'll be back tomorrow, Mailbag Monday. Send your questions in on Instagram via our Instagram stories. We will see you guys tomorrow.